All right. Good morning, cyber traders. Welcome back. Let me get a little hello. Let's see if everybody can hear me loud and clear. Good to see you. All right. Good morning, George, Patrick, everybody on YouTube. Excuse me. I don't want to get ready Corona. Had to sneeze there. Good to see you, Bonnie. Good to see you, Donnie, everyone. All right, good. All right, guys. So anyway, really quick, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about EYEN. The stock has been in a phenomenal run up so far this morning. A lot of us cleaned up. It was a great buy at $7. Stock broke out at 720 resistance. We're at 720. Big seller out there. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just got to give everyone a little heads up regarding about the cyber group room. We're having this issue with some updates on our back end, our portal page. Listen, please be patient. I know people don't like to hear that. I know it's not your problem, but trust me, we've been on it 24/7. We're doing the best that we can. I can understand one, but I'd be really ticked off the second day going on. So believe me, if there's anybody pissed off, it's me. All right. So please be patient. My staff's doing the best that I can. And believe me, we're not doing it to hurt you. We're looking to help you. It's the last thing I know. But the good thing is we could also broadcast on YouTube Live. So that also worked out. Thank God we had a backup. I'll tell you the truth. A long time ago, about 2-3 years ago, we didn't even do this. So it's good that we got backup. But the room's open. So if you're in the cyber group room, we're going to broadcast here on YouTube Live, and we're going to broadcast here, and we'll also be doing Traders Talk. But let's get right to some of the stocks that were moving this morning, because we did have a couple of good stocks that did pretty well yesterday. And we're going to talk about what's moving in today. Obviously, like I said, the EYEN has been phenomenal. All right, so I want to start off talking about airlines. Okay, so I sold my WIC trade, my WIX, yesterday after watching it, how it was trending. I'm just going to bring this up, look a little bit better. I got out of my WIC. I got out right around, what time is this? Yeah, right around here. I got out around 284. It's a shame because it had that big dip and it went right back up. And I don't know what the story would happen with WIC. I thought that the news that came out crushed it, came right back. I thought we were going to break all-time highs, but it's starting to build a little bit on a downtrend. It might come up a little bit, but it's breaking low. So I got out of that trade. And I just kind of went all in with my – it's only swing trades, not day trades. But we did day trade it yesterday with Delta, all of them. They all doing phenomenal. Let me just show you here. I mean, you could see right here that like Delta Airlines, when we had this great rally up here. Remember that big rally right there when it went from like $20 up to about like 37. It came back down to 25. So I don't know what the news is on the airlines, but they're obviously doing really, really, really well. Delta Airlines, American Airlines, I can go down the list. What else we got? Actually, I'm not a fan of American Airlines, so I don't trust it. But I do like United. United was a UAL. United's a little bit better. I feel a little more safer. Delta and United, I feel very safe. Okay. American, I don't know. Maybe I'm being biased. I'm not a fan of American Airlines. Every time I always had a bad experience. I feel bad because I had a student that was actually a pilot at American Airlines. Like, Fausto, what do you mean? I'm your student. He's like, American Airlines? You don't like American Airlines? I'm like, I'm sorry, but last time I was on the plane, I was sitting in there and something really grossed me out. He's like, what was that? There was a cigarette ash, on the seat, which tells you how old the plane was. Could you even imagine that? That is like something like back in like the 70s. So anyway, airlines are doing great. And not only the airlines, but also the all the cruise stocks. They're all doing great. Look at them. They're doing phenomenal. So I don't know. They're not really talking about it, but the market is up 350 points. We're at $28,000. 28,000 on the Dow after we're having this huge, having a great rally. It's going on. I told you, we're coming back to all-time highs. That is great news as traders. Listen, I had people like all my friends. I'm walking around town, but meeting them over the weekend. And some people are getting destroyed. Some people are doing great in this industry. I'm telling you, everybody wants to get into the trading business. Everybody wants to get in trading, especially now. This might be the new norm. People working from home. So listen, we got to make money. There's no better prestigious job than being a trader. And that's what it comes down to. JetBlue, GBLU, another one to throw up on that list. Look at him. Actually, I feel more safe at trading JetBlue than American Airlines. But they're all doing great. They're all doing well, all these airlines. Now, what else we got going on here? So you got all the airlines. Yes, I do. Patrick, I see that the stock is breaking all-time highs. Great move right there. Let me fix this chart so it's easy to read so you guys could see it. So anyway, let me bring up the level 4 right here. Well, actually, let me look at, oh, shoot, what happened here? Oh, there you go. Ugh. All right, hold on. I had too many screens moving around. Okay, so right here, you can see there's a big seller right now at 846. You see that little red heat bar right there? Right here, I just want to go back around, right around, ooh, I went too far. Yeah. All right. So right around here, where was it? The 20, there was about a 50,000 share seller right there. You hit him, it came back off. Once that seller got done, the thing took off. All right. Now, looking here on the level 3 version, you could see the actual number here, the volume number. And those sellers keep getting hit on the time and sales. So this stock is extremely strong. And if you were like me, everyone is probably in this position where we all should have been in right around 720. So right now, you probably got a buck in the bank right now. Honestly, traders, what do we teach you what to make here? $1 a day, $1 a day, $1,000 a day. You should call it quits right now. But we got class, so you know what? We got something to look forward to. But can it go higher? Sure, this thing could probably go to 10, 20, 50. It also going to go back down to 4. You know what I mean? But remember, we always teach you this. There's always something every day to trade. Don't look at it. You missed out on it. But anyway, as of right now, this is probably our best pre-market trade, which I still like. It's still looking higher going into the open. By the way, that seller just got hit. There were a couple other stocks that I did find this morning that I did like, but I don't know what happened. It seems like they got a little beat up. But the OXBR, this stock was up beautifully. A lot of you remember we traded it back in June. It ran from like $1.90 up to $4. It came back down. Great short squeeze. But, you know, I had like a little bit second thoughts. I don't know what that was all about, why it came down. This stock, obviously, you can see third biggest percentage gainer, not really going anywhere. It's kind of flat. You're looking at this one right here, up 24%, pretty much flat. If I go down the watch list, you'll see everything is pretty much garbage, other than, you know, maybe MGM. Forgot about that. Those also, they didn't make the big watch list, but come on. I hate when the system does this. Yeah. A lot of these stocks are doing pretty well regarding the casino stocks too. Caesars, I think MGM got a big investor came in, bought about 12% of the company. Thought it was probably a good deal out there. So that one did pretty well. A little expensive though. Which one, Patrick? You have UAE on my list? Oh, you guys are still in the chat room. You guys are talking. I'm trying to monitor two trading rooms at one time. You know, I got the cyber group room, and I also got YouTube Live and Facebook Live. I got 3 rooms I'm trying to monitor. But yes, these 3 stocks obviously are doing pretty well. But want to talk about some stocks? Why you got to know when to day trade and when not to swing trade. Everybody see what happened to SREN? Beautiful winner, gorgeous winner. Look what's happening. Nice little pop. Now she's trending down. I don't know if she's on your short list, but if she keeps picking this trend, whatever goes up comes down twice as fast. So that one also looks like it's taking a big hit. But you don't see it down 3%, but it was up pretty substantial. I'm just looking at the trend of it. There were other stocks here on the watch list, but I really wasn't that impressed. You got some of these stocks down 24%, whatever, but I don't know. I don't really see. These are stocks that had nice little run-ups. And, you know, IDEX, I mean, we all know about that one too. We did really well with that one. I mean, they're not really up a lot. You know, like you think they're down percentage-wise, but point-wise, they're not really there. I mean, the real big winner right now, obviously, is, you know, this one right here is the EYEN. Now, but the airlines are great. The cruise stocks are great. Casino stocks, be a little careful. They get a little volatile. All right. And even like the airlines, by the way, if you're not a category, if you're not a category 2 trader, I'm that category. If you're not a level 2 trader or higher, you know, cyber trader 3, 4, or 5, you know, we are our limits when we train you. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're not at 2 or higher, stay away from the airlines. They do move very volatile. they do these 10. I would say if you don't buy it, which we're going to talk about in class, if you don't buy it at those limit orders, chances are, you're probably going to be in the hole for already 5 cents. 5 cents on 1,000, you're already down $50. Okay, $50 is a lot of money. Do that every day. Throwing away $50 every day. I mean, you're throwing about 50, 60,000 at the end of the year, and I don't think anybody wants to do that. All right. Now, anything that we're missing, I did not call out. Remember, anything else? Listen, the list is terrible other than name stocks. I don't really see that much out there. I was even working my other scanner out there. Not really that much out there. Not much out there. By the way, did you see what happened to EYN? If you got a little greedy, if you got out, you did pretty well. Get a little cocky. You think, oh, maybe it's going to go out. Look at how the stock drops. Remember, you did not make a single penny until you sell it. Okay? And that's why I think a lot of people start getting a little frustrated about swing trading, because I believe me, I bump people as swing traders all the time, become students of ours, and like, I'm doing swing trading, but I think day trading is a little bit better. I'm like, what happened to swing trading? Oh, I did pretty well. At the end of the day, we all know what happened. Yeah, they talk about the winners, but they don't talk about like when they had a stock and they never took a loss and it's a loser. So that's why people like a lot of day trading. Trust me, you could be a great swing trader. You got to learn how to day trade first. I like the RK for a swing. RKT. Barry Jones. Let me bring that up. RKT. Is that an IPO? I think it's an IPO. You got to let it back off a little bit. I probably wouldn't jump up yet. TLRY. Not really doing anything right now. Pretty much dead, to be honest with you. Norman says, don't get greedy. Take the small profits. You got to take the small profits. You listen, who is a better hitter? Okay. A guy that hits home runs or the guy gets base hits, right? Because the guy who gets base hits is going to hit home runs. And let me tell you, home runs are the most exciting thing. But at the end of the year, when you look at that, your statistic and like, wow, he's got, 60 home runs. He's got to be the best baseball player. But he's batting 250. Who the hell wants that guy on your team? But then you got a guy like Mark McGwire, or I'm sorry, Joe DiMaggio. So you guys follow baseball. What did he do? He hit the ball 56 times in a row. He had a batting average of almost over 400. I would take that guy than someone hits 100 home runs. Okay, we all know that. Mario Rivera. By the way, I'm going to teach you guys a lesson before we go. Everybody familiar with Joe DiMaggio? Anyone here? Any baseball fans here who know Joe DiMaggio? I'm going to teach you a little something. I'm going to teach you something I learned a long time ago. Do you know how you will always remember that he hit 56 home runs? 56 hits in a row? Can you imagine that 56 times hit a base hit? 56 times. It's one hit shy of Heinz 57. And it's one hit shy of Heinz 57 varieties. And who was it? Famous. Yogi Berra. Once he struck out, Yogi Berra went to Joe DiMaggio and it's like, you really screwed up. He's like, what are you talking about? I hit the ball 56 times. Yeah, but if you just hit it one more time, you would be the face of Heinz 57 varieties. So I don't know if anyone ever knew that. So just kind of sharing with throwing it out there. All right. But I always like to use the Joe DiMaggio theory because it's base hits that we have to hit in trading, not home runs. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's get back to that other one that we're looking at. Now, if you notice, there is a 17,000 share buy right here on at 768. Is he over here? Yeah, right there. You see him right there? 770, 17,000 shares. That guy gets hit. It's pretty much probably going to break a new lower low. It doesn't look like it's testing it. All right. All right, cyber traders. Anything else? All right. So anyway, don't forget, we got class today. We're going to keep the YouTube channel running. And we keep the YouTube channel running. And I got class at 9:35. Okay. Phase 3. So all gold platinum students. I look forward to you to being in there. Hopefully you just made your money on this trade. You should be done. Looks like that guy at 770 got done. So Did he get done? He's not there anymore. That's not a good sign. So it might be done. And then we got also Traders Talk at 11 o'clock with Josh. So you don't want to miss that. So today is Tuesday. It's hump day. It's a very, very busy day. So look forward to seeing everybody there. So we're going to start commentary in about 15 minutes. Go back, go fill up your coffee. I don't know if you guys want your mug, whatever it is, go get your coffee, go hit the restroom. As of right now, nothing's really going to go on. I'll put the watch list in there, and then let's see how we trade going into this open. Okay, guys? All right, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. All right, guys, just want to do a quick audio check. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Just give me a chat in the trading room, and can everybody hear me okay? All right, perfect. All right, we will be starting, like I said, audio commentary in about 5 minutes, so don't go anywhere. And then the Cyber Group room, the classroom is now open, so any Gold Platinum students, please log in there. Thanks. Just a heads up for everybody. If you are logged in YouTube, because we're going to keep that up and running so we don't have any issues in the trading room, you don't have to be logged into both rooms. But if you are, just make sure one is muted and the other one's not. I would probably mute the YouTube one because that's about 5 seconds delayed. Okay.
Looks like this thing's about to blow right through the next support here coming up at 7. All right, guys, so we're about a minute away from the market open. I was saying just before on this like EYEN, it's going to probably pull back a little bit further as it has been. But even for, other reasons, you want to wait the first couple of minutes after the market opens up just to gauge true direction here for the stocks that we're going to be calling out, for the stocks that we're going to be trading. So, again, give the market after 9:30, maybe a couple of minutes, a few minutes, no really more than 5 or so minutes. The window of opportunity is pretty small. So once the market opens, give it a little bit, but not too long. Looks like the opening print on this EYEN trades at $6.81. I'm going to draw a quick line there if I can. There's the dump off right away. $6.81 is the opening bell print. We'll see if it can hold over that pretty nicely here coming up. I'm also keeping a good eye on the TTOO trade. TTOO, I think it's T2. I call it TAT2. It has a big resistance at $2.25. One stock from earlier yesterday, guys, the SRNE trade, that thing is just tanking right now. So perhaps that could be due for a dead cat bounce, but right now that thing just dropped from 1850 all the way down to 17. Looks like the EYEN trade, I mean, it's got a ways to go, but it's trying to creep back up off that last low, 640. The NCLH trade, Norwegian Cruise Lines, it's a stock that should have been on the watch list going into the market open. All the cruise lines are dropping off a little bit here. NCLH, I'm watching its support here at 16 bucks. The SRNE trade's bouncing from 17 right now. From 1668 was the low, but it's trying to shake around 17 here for the meantime. Keep in mind for all of our students here, we're going to be going over a few of these trades in our Traders Talk workshop later on this morning. Shortly after 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'll hop back on. That will actually be, I believe it today, and just with the web issues. For anyone on YouTube, Facebook Live, I think we'll be doing it for you guys here today as well. I just closed out my first trade. Could have had a better exit, but I ended up closing out the SRNE. I ended up jumping in. It was an average entry. I'll tell you the average entry at least. 1686. I closed out at 1718. Look at this. The EYEN just held its opening print as resistance, never broke over it. Things storming right back down now. I closed out the SRNE. Still moving up a little bit. 17 was a major support level that we had our eyes on yesterday, or well, major resistance. You know, strong resistance likely to become a strong support here. I don't know if I'm still going to mess around with this trade. At least it was a nice little scalp that I took right there. One call out I'll make right now, it's not really doing a whole lot. I mean, that's the thing. So maybe it's going to take some time. But from yesterday, we were watching WKHS Workhorse. Stock ended up dropping off like really early in pre-market. It's one that I did well on personally. So I watched it going into 9:30 here this morning. Major support off of 15 bucks. Actually, it didn't even kiss 15 there in the pre-market prior to the open, but yesterday 15 is where we had all the big volume there for you know, resistance. Let's go back to EYEN. Still dumping off. This crazy stock from yesterday, the MCRB trade. Not doing much. Looks like this PRPH trade's trying to like coil up underneath resistance at 450. All right, well, guys, really quick, I'll tell you really fast, and that's why I told you I got out. The SRNE trade, well, I'll tell you, I'm happy that I left some money on the table. I can care less about that at this point. This thing just got crushed right from 17, like 25-ish, 1730. I'd say the next support on this trade, if we're trying to catch a bounce, would be 16. It's hard to borrow. So if anyone has the shares to short this thing, then that's the better play, obviously. The SRNE, though, next major support's going to be off 16 bucks. Currently, there's a 130,000 share order on the bid. Watch the trade station matrix on the far right side. Oh, actually, couldn't even watch it. It just sliced through the level so fast. Holy smokes. It's why we don't look to try and catch the falling knife, right, guys? We were talking about that earlier inside the YouTube stream even. I'm going to flip over right now, guys, to one of my favorites, the NCLH. I wish I jumped in at 16. Obviously, now I say that. But NCLH, big spike up. Get a lot of volume on NCLH at 1650 and 1643 from the pre-market. Some big prints getting filled on the tape. Jerry picked up 30 cents here in our chat board on the EYEN trade. He got it from 640. All right, nice scalp, Jerry. In and out quick like my SRNE. Let's see if this can make a stronger move up towards that 681, and then ultimately from there, it needs to really break 7. It's not just 681. This thing needs to pop. I don't know how much of a believer I am. We'll see. Right now, currently on the EYEN trade, there is a 27,000 share seller currently on the ask at $7. This always happens. Holy. Well, that's why we don't. That's why we also don't look to buy underneath resistance, let alone trying to catch a falling knife, folks. So, as far as our trading strategy, I'd said it earlier. I'll say it again here. We're going to be covering a lot of what we teach in our formal classes. Actually, this morning in Traders Talk, we do that every week anyway. But that'll be our live Q&A workshop. That'll be coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern. The SRNE trade did make a bounce over the 16, so it's a matter of just being there at the right time, right? You don't want to catch the falling knife, but if that was a really big support, you hope to see it hold over a few minutes' time. Speaking of support right now, a stock that I'm just flipping through right now, I just caught the MGM trade. MGM Casino just broke below a big iceberg order on the bid, big support off of 22 bucks. Look what happened on NCLH here. It looks like it ended up holding pretty well. I mean, almost kissed it perfectly. 1643. We were saying 1650, 1643. We had big volume filled in the pre-market there, some bigger transactions on the time and sales. That TTOO stock I had mentioned just earlier, guys, it actually just tanked, dropped all the way down to $2. going back to the SRNE trade really fast. The SRNE trade, wow, ended up pushing all the way back up basically to 17. I wouldn't bank on that running over 17 perfectly right here. I'd probably expect a pop and drop, and then from there, we'll see what happens. Michael, I just saw Michael picked up on RCL, kind of following along the same line of thinking with NCLH. Michael picked up 77 cents on a short on RCL. He got in right from 62. Very nice, Michael. Looks like NCLH made that big shake, and Michael caught RCL there right at the same time. Excellent. Yeah, a lot of stocks pulling back here, folks. AAL just broke down below 14.50, 50-cent level. We would assume for that to be big support. I was debating myself, hey, do we focus on AAL this morning? Do we focus on NCLH? I love both. I personally stuck with NCLH, although I didn't trade it. This ended up dropping off just as nicely. The SRNE trade, as expected, just made a pop over 17 and then pulled back under it. I feel like it's going to drop off a lot further here for a bit. I haven't taken a trade since the SRNE, just to let you guys know. Oh, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I'm sorry. That's a lie. I'm currently in one trade right now. I'm in on T2, TTOO. I didn't close that trade out yet, I should say. I'm sorry. I'm in on TTOO from right around 195, just trying to scalp it quick. Chuck just posted a 27-cent profit inside our trading room on the CLSK trade. So I forgot about that, Chuck. Good call. Good reminder. And good trade. Let's see. CLSK Chuck got in from 11.50. So quick little scalp. It looks like just once it punched over the level, he went in and out really fast. So nice trade. Pulled right back under 11.50. This might be the short now, Chuck. And Nancy picking up $1.38 actually per share, and more expensive. The mRNA, Moderna. Been following them just as much as like every other, vaccine related stock, right? INO, SRNE, all of them. And just as I said that about CLSK, Chuck, it was already under 11.50, but just made another nasty shake. There goes SRNE. SRNE back to holding underneath 17 here, folks. So, 17 we had just commented on a huge level. That's where I took my first trade on this. Nancy says the vaccine stocks are all down big this morning. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I've only looked at SRNE and the Moderna, but if that's the case, I mean, I know Inovio Pharmaceuticals came off earnings, so that's kind of, specific, right? I mean, quarterly earnings INO posted, but they're down, 18%. Bonnie calling out the NKLA stock, which I'll turn to right away. It's one that we're like pretty much daily watching at this point. NKLA ended up making a nice drop off after the market opened, but just as strong of a recovery, moving back up to 43. Nancy says BNTX reported also. So I'm not familiar with them as much, Nancy. I know that they're a more expensive stock, so I'm guessing they're Corona related too. We've called them out once or twice recently. I remember that. BNTX. Nice little squeeze up so far in that trade. Just turned over to it on my other screen. If Nancy's saying that, I wouldn't be surprised right now if Nancy's in that trade from like $67. She'll probably post like a $2 profit here coming up. It's a nice rebound on that BNTX, actually. Turn over to it quickly. All right, I'm going to turn back to a stock that, I mean, I don't know how much weight I'm going to put on this, but it kind of looks like the EYEN's beginning to build. I just broke above an order on the ask at $6.30. So really keep a close eye on 625 to 630, I'd say. Needs to hold here, this line. Man, I wonder what happened at TTOO this morning. I mean, I'm still in the trade, but it was up big. Looked like it was going to be like a sharp pop shortly after the market opened up, went the complete other way. Obviously, news came out. I think it was earnings related, if I'm not mistaken. Really quick, we were kind of just talking about Inovio, INO. I'm just reading a quick little like news headline snippet here. The headline I'll post is across for a few stocks, but it says Inovio says phase 2 and 3 coronavirus study starts actually in September. So for that INO stock, that could just be some interesting news. You know, it's funny. I just took my eyes off the EYN. I literally just took my eyes off the screen that's showing just to read that news headline. I just turned 90 degrees over and look over, and well, EYEN sure didn't really hold 625 too nicely, did it? Going back to the SR&E trade, look at this. Ended up actually holding over 17 on the second attempt, and now it's moving back up. It's still down 7%. Has a ways to go still before like a real full recovery, but 50-cent move. Dean here in the chat board says FYI, NEO and IO reported good revenue results and opened up $1.09, then promptly tanked. That reminds me, like, I mean, not carbon copy, but that reminds me of AMD back in like 2016. I was swing trading AMD at the time. Well, I had a position I was planning on holding on for quite some time. And long story short, Dean, I was up like 4 points on that trade from 11. It was really nice. And AMD posted earnings. The earnings were in line. So I guess they didn't like technically beat, but they were just in line with the expectations. And the stock tanked like 10% instantly after the market opened. That was my first real hold. And that scared the ever living pants off me. So I certainly know that feeling. I know that pattern on NEO there. Can't always trust the headlines, can't always base a move off of like earnings and so forth, unfortunately. Hey folks, keep in mind too, for anybody streaming on YouTube, Facebook Live right now, first and foremost, I hope you guys are enjoying so far. We normally don't stream as much as we are here on a given morning. We've had some tech issues early on today with the trading room, so only for today, actually, what we're going to do is our Traders Talk workshop, our weekly Q&A session. We'll be streaming it right here on Facebook Live and YouTube, just as we are here in the trading room, kind of like a simulcast. So stay tuned. We're going to go into the mid to late morning, roughly around 10:30. We'll take a small break in the audio, at least at 10:30. I'll hop right back on it at 11 o'clock to do our workshop. I'll tell you that TTOO stock not looking too good right now. Back under 2. I might just dump out with a scratch trade. Dean says, unfortunately, I missed a most excellent short on Neo. Yeah, that was really fast, though, Dean. I mean, it happened at 9:33, just a couple minutes after the open there. So it looks like it was a really fast move on the way down. I normally would be really interested in trading Neo, especially off earnings. But with the stream on social media, I didn't want the screen to freeze up. Neo is trading 57.8 million shares total across the day. It's 9:51 Eastern time. So normally at 9:30 when the market opens for that stock, it actually locks up my platform a little bit. I will call out, though, Neo. Neo is touching support here coming up off of 14. Yeah, I just dumped out of the TTOO trade, guys. It's going nowhere. All right. I took actually a 1 cent gain on that trade. I was in from 195. I closed out at 196. Looks like some of the blockchain stocks are moving back up here a little bit. Mara, MARA, worth watching at resistance here at $4. You know what I'm going to do really fast, because I don't do this until like 10 o'clock anyway. I'm going to put up the Dow Jones. I do this at times during the afternoon meeting when I stream this on Facebook Live and YouTube. It doesn't show the pre-market, so I don't normally have it up like going into the open. But you could see the Dow ended up popping shortly after 9:30. Moved up, not really a whole lot, like 100+ points, but you can see it's been really weak since, just pretty flat, tight range. I bring that up because some stocks are starting to weaken already on their trends. And I'll tell you, this is definitely a nickels and dimes type day, folks. Which, hey, we can't control the market, so we can only take as much as we can get. That's why I'm being more gingerly with my callouts, or more with my trading than anything. American Airlines, AAL, ended up pulling back. It's retesting support at 1450. Look for a drop back down on SRNE. I'm not fully buying the SRNE move back up. Chuck here in the chat board saying play PLAY at the high of the day. Let's take a look. Up 9%. I like that already. It looked pretty stagnant shortly after the open, but finally now starting to pop, Chuck. Good call. I like this. 22,000 share order on the ask currently at 1650. That's pretty interesting. So it just broke above resistance, broke above volume on the ask likely here. Let's take a look. Here, 956. Looks like a lot of volume at 1646, 1647-ish. Just someone scaling out or shorting potentially at that price. Either way, this thing's just flying up. So Chuck, great timing on that call right before it popped over 1650 at least. I'm going to make a call out right now on another trade that I've been following, that we've been following as a group. Nikola, NKLA. Just flipping through my level 4 right now. So NKLA Nikola has resistance at hole number 43. Told you to be careful, guys, on SRNE. Just move back underneath 1730. 1730 was actually a level that we were looking at yesterday. I had that as a line on my chart. You guys don't see that here. I'm going to put it up right now. Maybe this could start holding 1730 support here coming up, just like it did at 17 earlier. Chuck 19 cents on play, and then John ended up picking up 6 cents on PRPH cheapy. Yeah, that one dumped off after the open. I want to jump to that quick because Fausto was saying it was looking pretty strong going into the market open, and it did at the time. I mean, it popped shortly after 9 o'clock. You know, it's a low float stock, so we know right away the dump off here, the pump and dump is pretty likely. Ended up holding resistance that we had. Remember, we were looking at 450. Held it perfectly. Then dumped back down. John got in from 308. So he got in as it continued to pull back more and more off the rounded bottom and picked up just about 6 cents. Nice. Yeah, I wouldn't trust that stock now at this point. I say that not to John, but to all of us here that saw John's trade. You don't want to jump right in on this trade just because you saw John make a profit. So, right as I say that, look what just happened. It broke below 3. Hertz here, and little move up going into the morning, but dudded off after. Check back in maybe on EYEN. I don't know. Let's see. This might be in line for a Josh trend line coming up. I feel like once I put a trend line up on this chart, it's going to pop and run. It's usually the running inside joke inside our trading room. Couple of shakes, but seems like this line was holding pretty well. Not every stock works off a perfect straight line like this, but let's see what happens. The last time it broke the trend line, look what happened. It broke above resistance, made a pop and drop. So just because it breaks the trend line doesn't mean that we're in the clear just yet. From Michael, is there something on TradeStation where yeah, Michael, I'll go over that in the Traders Talk workshop. You want to do me a quick solid and just send me over a quick private message inside the trading room here, like copy and paste that question, just so I don't forget, and I'll answer that at least in the workshop coming up. Uh-oh, guys. Stock that is now tanking. I wanted it to hold over 1730, and it didn't. I wasn't in this trade, but I was saying hopefully this could hold 1730, the line on my chart. If it doesn't, you got to be careful. This thing just dropped almost, I mean, not almost, but it's dropping over 50 cents a share here from that price. If it's not breaking higher, guys, there's only one other way the stock's going to go. A lot of stocks dropping off a bit with the market. AAL, American Airlines, that is. Just broke down below support at 1450. That's one I wish I could say I took the short on. Oh, and NIO, speaking of shortable stocks as well, NIO just broke down below 14. David says Mara, M-A-R-A, new high of the day. Yeah, broke over 4 earlier. I just saw that now. I made the call out before, but looks like it's like pretty slow off that 4 level. Just be a little careful there, David, but it looks interesting though. You want to see Bitcoin make a really sharp pop. There's a much better chance that Mara, Riot, the blockchain affiliated stocks will move when Bitcoin makes a sharper move up. It's like following any ETF, like following JNUG or Nugget, and the corresponding gold stocks move with it. Not directly, not perfectly, but in relation. All right, folks, really quick for all of us here inside the live trading room. I think I need to log out, log back in. The stream on social media is going to remain perfect. But for all of us here inside the trading room, I think just my connection just froze up there for a second. You guys, I don't think even noticed it, but I'm just going to log out, log back in. All right, should be good now, guys, right? Should be able to see me in the room at least. There we go. David says he took his first partial exit on Mara. Nice. Good job, David. David, where'd you end up getting in on that trade? On the Mara stock that we were just talking about. I'll tell you guys that SR&E stock, I think it's done. Unless if you're able to short it. David wrote Mara in at 398 out of 406. All right, nice. Good exit. Really good exit. Had a tough time breaking higher there, right? So just take the money and run. You could always get back in if the stock allows you to. And if this stock doesn't allow you to, it's funny. I just read this online, or I read this on Twitter this morning. There's like a feed I read for finance on Twitter. I thought it was a lot more than this. So I guess there's 3,000 symbols that are listed that are traded here in the US. I thought it was a lot more than that. But if it's not this Mara stock, then at least it's one of the other 3,000 stocks that are, tradable that we could try and find, right? Try and find that little tweet that I had. It's like a guy that has like 500,000 followers. It's this guy Zero Hedge. Where is it? Oh, really quick, guys. Yeah, that WKHS I put up on the screen just before. I called out the short inside the trading room here just a while ago. 15 looks like a really big level to watch. It was a really strong level from yesterday. The trade that I'm not in on right now that I definitely wish I was, the AAL short. Let me ask, guys, is anyone currently short on AAL? Or if you're short on any of the other airlines, at least, let me know. I feel like they'll all move together. Here we go. So the tweet I was reading yesterday, it says there are now less than 3,000 listed stocks in the U.S. And then I don't know what the purpose of this is, like why he wrote this. So I'm not going to go into that. But he was like, there are over 7,000 ETFs, which I had no idea. That was astonishing to me. But I feel like that's global. The ETFs that he listed, or whoever listed, I think that's global, right? So they were mentioning 3,000 stocks that are listed to be traded in the United States. David wrote here when I was asking about the airlines, David said he was holding a swing short on Jets, the airline ETF. How about that? Not only in relation to my ETF talk, but we were actually going over that yesterday, David. I didn't know that you were swing trading that. Very nice. We were talking about the airline ETF Jets, right? I had called that out. I wasn't really looking for a swing or anything or a short, whatever, but nice. Excellent. That AAL trade really seems to want 14. The WKHS trade just broke under 15, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to pop back up pretty soon. I'm going to be closing out my short position on that pretty soon as well. Yeah, actually right now. I just closed right now on the WKHS. It's just too slow right now. The AAL is a much better short. I closed the WKHS short right there at 14.97. It's going nowhere under 15, or at least right now it sure isn't. I was in that trade from $15.14. WKHS, that is, Workhorse. I had no reason to get out aside from really just taking the money and running, but it's a nickels and dimes day, like I'd said before, guys. So I'm not going to try and hold on to this trade, then waste profit off like some crazy spike up. It's not worth it. Let's check in on TTOO with that in mind. Yeah, I'm pretty happy I got out where I did, right? I call that a scratch trade pretty much, right? -1, +1, break even, of course, but yeah. Well, WKHS giving me a little bit more. It could have given me a little bit more on that, perhaps. Dropping down now towards 14.90. That's fine. No worries there. Took a scratch and 2 wins so far. So for 10 o'clock, I'll take it. wasn't as profitable, or maybe not as entertaining of a morning compared to yesterday, but we'll take it. That's fine. Looks like American Airlines kind of building a bit of a Fausto flag on the way down. The WKHS trade's now back above 15. Folks, really quick, like I had mentioned before, I'm probably going to be a little annoying with this just for all of our streamers on YouTube and Facebook, but keep in mind we have our weekly workshop coming up in just about an hour's time or less, actually 55 minutes from right now, Traders Talk. So if you guys have any specific trades, any questions in general that you would like for us to go over, what you need to do right away is just send over a quick email or a private message inside our trading room. One of our students did that just earlier. But if you guys send over any questions or any trades you would want me to cover, that's the best chance, the best way for me to, potentially do such. So, we'll begin right at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 11:05 for that matter, 11:05 Eastern time. I'm going to post the little announcement I just made inside the YouTube stream here as well for all of you guys. So for anybody tuning in on the stream, if you guys would like to send over any trades, any questions, my email address is josh@ctutrading.com. I know that Fausto's in the phase 3 stock course right now. I don't have a chance to jump in that class live myself, just with the stream here, with the trading room, of course. But I'll tell you, it hasn't been that crazy of a morning, so to say. A couple of good short opportunities on the airlines. All right, guys, we're going to go another 15 minutes of audio, and then from there we'll take a small break, and then from there Traders Talk at 11:05, at least for right now. Just give me a quick minute. I'm going to refill up the old water bottle, and I'll be right back. Andreas says the EYEN watching 590 and $6 whole number. He said it just failed, but he's still going to watch that for a potential move back up. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here coming up. Probably going to move my line at 625, but yeah, 6 whole number. You can't go wrong with the level. I'll tell you that much. So we'll see what happens if this could re-break above 6 like Andrea was looking for. All right, looks like the WKHS trade, guys, that I just took a short on. Again, it's back over 15. I think this might be a point where it ends up running back up. I'm currently long on the WKHS right from 15 with a really tight stop set should it re-break under that price. Looks like the SRNE stock keeps dropping right now. New low of the day, not of the day actually. It broke lower below the last dip. I'm sorry. SRNE is just heading back down, it seems like. Not new low of the day, but Andrea saying, Josh, Tuesday, guess you were in the office. I am not, actually. I was in the office yesterday because we had the issue in the trading room, and I finally got my situation here settled. Jerry says poolside. Not yet. Not yet. I wish. It tightened up my internet connection here at my home office. I ended up increasing my bandwidth and everything else. So at least for right now, staying home. Poolside definitely later, Jerry. You got that thought in my head now. AAL moving back up. So it ended up reversing actually from where it was building that Fausto flag. Andrea is asking, can you remember the last time you wore a dress shirt? Oh, man. It's actually been quite some time. Let's just put it that way. Got a comment here from YouTube. CLSK emphatically. So let's take a look back on that CLSK trade. Man, this thing still keeps going, huh? Great call from one of our members on YouTube, RJF, who frequents the afternoon meeting with me. Very nice call. That American Airlines trade is already back at 1450, guys. AAL is right back at 1450. Crazy. That thing's really volatile today. The one mistake I made today, I think, just, you can't be a perfectionist, but, and CLSK, obviously, I wish I just jumped into here, but if I made one mistake today, and it just happens. I mean, this was tradable. It would have dropped off. It did drop off nicely, but I probably should have focused on American Airlines, which was on our list, compared to the NCLH, which actually wasn't. The other cruise lines were. But I will say this is more volatile. So that's where I say I wish I followed this instead of the NCLH. Anybody jump in the WKHS with me? It's moving up nicely, at least for right now. It's getting close to the VWAP price. Might just bail soon, but 1527 is the closing print from yesterday on that WKHS stock. Let's jump back to CLSK really fast here, guys. See what else is out there going into the beginning of the mid-morning. A little pop and drop from 1250 is the CLSK. All right. The WKHS is really having a tough time around the VWAP price. VWAP, I think, is right around 1517. American Airlines just bounced directly off that 1450. Andrea calling out ONCS here live inside our trading room, breaking out right now. I don't know what the news is, but good call. And then from Norman, he's saying CTVA. Let's see, comparison of two call outs here. One's more expensive than the other, but both are moving up nicely. Yeah. This one has a tight spread too. That's pretty interesting. Making a huge recovery from Thursday of last week, it seems like. Jerry jumped into the rocket trade, RKT. We ended up seeing them off their IPO last week, right? Jerry got in at $20.80, pretty much off the pop, right? Nice. All right. All right, I'm closing out my next trade, guys. This one, well, I told you, this one was like taking candy from a kid. Honestly, I mean, AAL moved right up to that 1450, hit it, dropped like a rock. I just closed at 1430. Oh, and that's a short, by the way, not a long. So. I'll be honest, the WKHS trade that I'm still in, it looks kind of weak. So I'm more hoping that this ends up bursting up towards the VWAP price and moving up higher. But it would not surprise me if that pulls back down to 15. And if it breaks under it, I'm just going to get out. So it's kind of like an all or nothing trade there for me. Great call from RJF on the CLSK. This thing still keeps pumping up. Actually broke over yesterday's high already. Yesterday's high on the CLSK is 1297. So, I mean, pretty much just broke it. Closing print on the tape was at $12.20. I find that interesting because that's pretty much where it was holding underneath before it broke. Little coinky dink, huh? Well, I'll tell you, this stock has a long ways to go to get back up to like 40 even, let alone 70 plus back from May of 2019 or March. This thing's a flying. I should have gotten out of WKHS. I'm probably going to end up with a flat trade there, or scratch trade rather. Still in from 1502 is my entry, at least. So pretty good entry price, but I'll jump back to one trade really quick because we're not going to probably look at it going forward. Mara, M-A-R-A, I want to give a quick shout once again to David C. He mentioned earlier he took his trade, he took his exit right from 406, the high pretty much. Very good exit, dropped off. It's just doing a whole bunch of nothing right now, right? So I'm going to stay away from this trade at least. It's all about opportunity cost, right? Would I rather be following Mara right now, or would I rather be following CLSK? Yeah, that CLSK stock right now, guys. We currently have resistance on the ask at 1350, which you could see it pretty much moved right up towards 1361 as the high. But for right now, currently a volume on the ask at 1350. Wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing volume or if we end up seeing support. Let me see here. Support, I wouldn't be surprised not only at 1250, but in particular 1255. Here's a call out from Norman. This one's moving really well right now, guys. I probably would have had this earlier myself, not to make excuses for me. Freaking Benzinga Pro, the signals page is down. Norman just called out CNK, a stock that we've had on our side list. I think CNK posted, if it wasn't earnings, I know that Cinemark had news last week with AMC. So it's a stock that's on our side list, actually. So Norman, really good call. Up 10+%. Still moving up, just like that CLSK stock. Yeah. All right, guys, I'll tell you for right now, like I'd said before, we're going to limit the audio, at least for right now, for just about 30 minutes, I guess. Our Traders Talk Workshop, our weekly Q&A session that we normally host right here in the Cyber Group Trading Room. We're going to do a simulcast between the Trading Room and YouTube Live. So for all of us streaming on YouTube Live right now, go nowhere. Stay right put. I'm just going to hop off the mic here for a bit just to stretch the legs and just kick back for a quick moment, get ready for our workshop. And at 11:05 Eastern, I'll hop back on. And then from there, we'll do our normal Traders Talk Workshop. All right, guys? See if I can turn the mic off here first. That'd be nice. There we go. Hey guys, Josh here. Really quick, I wanted to just give another reminder for all of us, especially streaming across social media. For all of us here inside the trading room, of course, you guys should know the schedule at this point, but we have our weekly workshop coming up right at 11:05 Eastern time. So in just about 20 minutes time from right now, we'll be picking up right where we had left off earlier. So if you guys have any questions, any trading related questions, any trades in particular you would want me to analyze or review with you guys here in general, send it right over to my email address, josh@ctutrading.com. Once again, Josh, as in JOSH, at ctutrading.com. All right, guys. So again, we'll look to begin that coming up very shortly. All right, guys, for all of us here on social media, keep in mind we're going to begin our Traders Talk workshop coming up in just about the next few or so minutes, 2-3 minutes, if that. All right, guys, so just stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back for another fantastic edition here of Traders Talk, our live 60-minute Q&A, normally hosted right here in the Cyber Group Trading Room. For all of us tuning in on YouTube and Facebook Live here, welcome on aboard. We've kind of run into a small tech issue this week, so with that in mind, we wanted to cater to all of our students that were not able to log in inside our trading room just yet. So again, normally we host this workshop every week, pretty much every Tuesday morning, shortly after the morning closes out. So, at this point, guys, what we'll do is really look to go through a few trades that, we may have taken over the last few days, over the last week, if so. And these are trades that students have taken themselves, students that are a part of Cyber Trading University that have sent over their trading journal just prior to this session beginning. So what we'll do is look to go through those trades. Guys, if you have any questions, and that goes across the board for all of us here inside the live trading room, for all of us here streaming right now on social media, if you guys have any questions, type it right away in the chat board. Let me know. And then otherwise, I'll put my email out there just at the end of this workshop, just in case if you have any further questions. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's begin. And really, right now we have the stock PIRS up on the board right now. This was just called out by one of our students, Leo. Leo, nice call on this trade. It's up over 14% right now. It's a cheapie too, so a lot of us could trade this in terms of its price. The spread's also pretty tight here. It's like a penny or two spread, and the liquidity seems pretty, filled out on the book. At least a few larger orders, 2,400, 2,500 shares at a lot of these price levels on the bid and the ask. So this was a really good call. What we'll do is maybe come back to this just at the end. I know that a lot of our students, myself included, we were focused yesterday to begin on this stock Sorrento, SRNE. And if you were actually watching during the live audio commentary earlier this morning, well, you guys know that we were talking all about this stock. I don't think this ended up making like the CTU morning watch list today. Oh, no, it actually did. Pardon me. Fausto ended up actually putting this on our list. I didn't think he was going to, just given how much it dropped off from yesterday. But, hey, with that in mind, it was extremely volatile. And a lot of us ended up more so trading this from yesterday, like I'd said. So, what I really want to do is just break down this move in full from analyzing this, beginning from the pre-market even to seeing what happened after the market opened. And what happened really is we transitioned into this very time frame right now, into the late morning. The stock kept pushing up, but was it really worth continuing to trade? So what we'll do is really just break down this move piece by piece, guys, like I had said. So what we'll do is start from pre-market. Oh, this can be a little bit faster. There we go. So here's the thing. Whenever we do these Traders Talk workshops, guys, everything's always in hindsight. So at the end of the day, I know it's a lot easier to, put these pieces together after the fact. In the live moment, in the heat of the moment, so to say, it's definitely a lot more difficult to interpret certain moves, especially with them moving as fast as they are, like here. So what we'll do is begin from pre-market. Let's say if we were following the stock even beginning from 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, well, that means we have like 30 plus minutes to prep, to focus on certain support resistance, to prepare going into the market open. We don't want to just throw a dart on the wall and hope it lands. We don't want to just, kick our feet back while we have the chance to prep. And then when the market opens up, we're just overwhelmed. We don't want to be like that, right? So, we need to take the time in pre-market to at least prep and focus and see if there's any significant volume-based support or resistance that we could focus on. So what we'll do here to begin, guys, is just look at the chart. All right. Now, it's the volume that paints the picture on this chart for us. But for all of us here inside the trading room and streaming across social media, why don't you guys answer here for me? So where do you guys see clear support resistance if you're looking at my screen here, the 1 minute chart in particular? Are there any specific price levels that are just like holding really well on the chart? See a bunch of us typing right now, so I'll give you a few seconds. No worries there. Maybe I'll bring up what we call level 4, as I call book, or as what's formerly known as bookmap. Perhaps we'll bring that up if need be. Pat says 1530 support and 1550 resistance, right? Michael agrees on 1550. And Greg does as well. Greg says like 1550, 1545-ish. Steven from YouTube says 1510, which, just seems to be a nice base here from 830, right? So I would agree with all of those answers. Greg said 1510 as well. So yeah, 1510 from the chart, right? I'm emphasizing from the chart because we'll find out very shortly that there was a lot more volume on the order book at 15 bucks. Give me a quick sec. All right, cool. So actually what I will do, I will bring up bookmap, as we just know is level 4. What I'll do is just bring this up, guys. We're going to focus on the price levels that have the darkest like shades of orange and red horizontal lines going across the price level. So you'll see what I mean here in a second. All right. So with that in mind now, you can see, as I try and expand this, at 1510, we did have volume on the bid. So it's not only just holding on the chart, but roughly around 1510, we ended up seeing like 10,000 or so shares roughly around that price. 1510, 1511. So that's where I had said focus on the darker shades of orange here. And hey, 1550, there's like roughly 13,000, 12, 13,000 shares on the offer there. All right, well, look at 15 bucks. 15 bucks, a 28,594 share order. So 1510 holding well on the chart. 15 is our major volume-based support level going into the market open here. All right, so what I'm actually going to do, you know what? Actually, I'll do this first. This is easy today. All right, so going into the market open, what I'm going to do is go back on my time in sales because that 1530 was holding well on the chart and there wasn't really like a big bar, big orange shade of, bar there, whatever, not really a big seller or buyer at that price. What I'm going to do is flip back to the time in sales here on my platform because after the market opens up at 9:30, as all of our students inside our trading room at least know, we look for what's called the opening bell print. This is like a market on open print. It's a very big transaction. and that price level will likely create a strong support or resistance shortly after the open. So for all of us here, what do you guys see as the opening bell print shortly after the market opened up at 9:30? Look at the time and sales program that I just moved. What's the big opening bell print there? Barb and Greg, yeah, 1531, right? It's a 495,000 share order. Wow, that's pretty damn big. All right, well, pretty silly question, folks. Let me ask you. What would you rather put your money on? What would you rather put your eggs in the basket in? Would you rather put your eggs in the basket of 10,000 shares on the ask? Or would you rather put your eggs in the basket of 495,600 shares? What would you pick? Yeah, I think I'd be picking the 490 some odd thousand share, right? All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to treat that as a huge volume-based level after the 9:30 open. I typically wait the first few or so minutes, guys, to gauge direction here for the trades that we're going to be calling out. So, I know it's easy for me to say this, but after 9:30, this thing lifted off from 1531 beautifully, right? At the same time, I'm not going to try and buy on the bid. I'm not going to try and catch the falling knife, rather. So what I mean by that is, well, you could actually see before this thing just started running, it ended up pulling back directly to 1531. All right, well, it held the first bar there, right, in red. See right here? Well, what happened shortly after? If you continue to expect this to hold, this thing sliced under 1531 extremely fast. All in all, it ended up holding 1510, that pre-market support level from the chart. Didn't even kiss 15. It broke under and over 1510. And then after a little while of building support over that price, once this ended up breaking over 1531, off she went. That's it. So 1531 was really the true breakout level on this trade. It took a little while to get the gears going, but once this popped over 1531, that was it. From there, 1550 we had recognized as the next resistance on this trade. So if I have the chance to pull my level 4 back up here, let me see if I can maneuver around. All right, so you could see after the open, this was very fast, but it ended up slicing through this, orange line, this big 25,000 share plus order at 1550. So we know that 1550 is a pretty big level. I mean, fairly similar to the opening bell print. It's just a matter of time if this breaks over 1531 and runs before this breaks over 1530 or 1550 and continues. So you could see that's exactly what happens. It ended up popping right over 1550 after 1531. Now, it had a little shake, but of course, with that in mind, guys, let me ask, in terms of reward risk, when this breaks over 1550, rather, I'm referring to like 9:45, 9:50 Eastern, right here. When it breaks over that very mark, what's our next resistance ahead? What's our next resistance above 1550? Now, if you don't have Bookmap, it might not be as vivid, right? But even if you don't, I want to clarify on a subtopic that we go through in the phase 1 stock class, even in our beginner course. Greg, Pat, Amy, all saying 16. Well, as far as the dark orange and red lines going across the screen, yeah, you better believe 16 is a big resistance, at least 96,000 shares. So, obviously that's a really big order. I got Dennis here inside the trading room. We have Steven from YouTube saying 1575, both agreeing there. I would agree with Dennis and Steven. Now, it's not necessarily because it's like a high on the chart. And you could see in hindsight fully this kind of spiked up to 1575. Obviously, shortly after, it only continued to move up higher. So, that was a short-lived resistance at the time. But if I was referring to 1550 as resistance here and it popped and dropped and so forth, You happen to see an order on the ask. I mean, it was on the left-hand side. Shortly after the market opened, there was an order at 1575. It filled it. It popped and shook through it and came back down, right? Well, that's not going to be as big of a resistance compared to 16. But I'll tell you this. I mean, obviously, this ended up moving up much higher, right? So all in all, it would have worked out either way. But I'm not basing my risk off of a 50-cent target necessarily. Meaning that if I see the next major iceberg order on the ask, like on level 3, and by the way, guys, really quick, for all of us that are fairly new to CTU that's streaming across social media, if you don't have this level 4 as we nickname, no worries. I mean, what I'm referring to level 3 is on the right-hand side here, the TradeStation Matrix. This is a built-in program from TradeStation that gives me level 3 data, much like the NASDAQ total view. All right. So, I had a question when I was doing the afternoon meeting yesterday, actually. Someone was, I guess, like kind of upset that I didn't have total view up. They were saying, well, why are you using obsolete level 2? And I mean, it's a good point, right? From the naked eye, it's a really good point. The TradeStation Matrix, guys, on the far right side of this screen, that's our level 3. So if you don't have TradeStation, or if you don't have like an interactive brokers, a broker that has ECN data built into it. Even Fidelity has like an aggregated level 2. One of our students, Gene, ended up sending that over to me. But hey, if you have a broker that does not have ECN data, then I would say that NASDAQ total view is a must. It's essential otherwise. All right. So with that, looking at Bookmap here. Well, if 1575 was resistance here earlier today at the market open, I'm actually still going to call it resistance right now. When it breaks over 1550, I'm not going to base my risk off of 16, meaning I'm not going to risk like 25, 30 cents a share, assuming 16 is the next level, when really 1575 is the next level ahead. I'm going to base my risk, if anything, off of that. Meaning, let's say if this, makes a pop from 1550 and we're in, and it shakes back under it right here as it did, well, I'm only going to risk a certain amount of cents per share in relation, not to 16, to 1575. All right. Now, all in all, did it really matter here? No, thankfully. But guys, it matters on most trades. So you don't want to get stuck holding on to a big losing trade, assuming that the stock's going to make a particular type of move. And I'll tell you, we're going to go to SRNE, the same exact stock that I'm going through right now. We'll talk about today's move this morning, actually. I'm just going through yesterday's move, actually, right now. So, this ends up making the move up. It breaks above 1575. It doesn't break higher from the top here, but ends up holding. Holds the VWAP 1550, ends up building up as support. So if I'm talking about these dark orange, dark red lines going across this program, well, all in all, 1550 ended up becoming a big support on the bid. We ended up seeing a darker orange shade, a darker orange line going across here. And this number represents the amount of shares that's on the bid at this very time. So roughly it grew to be like 50,000 shares on the bid at 1550. So strong resistance ended up becoming strong support later on. Now, of course, this is just the beginning of yesterday's move. The thing ended up slicing right over 16 and continued to move up a little bit later on. Now, really quick, I had some traders that ended up sending over their journals to me. I had like 5 students send their journals specifically on this SRNA. And, those 5 traders ended up jumping in and out of this stock anywhere between 2 to even like 8 or 10 times. So normally during this Traders Talk workshop, I had the chance to go over trades that were sent over anonymously by students, at like actually stating where they got in and out. So I messaged those students and told them, hey, we're going to just go over the move in general here. All right. I don't have the time to go through every entry and exit taken. But, for the most part, with 16 being the next major level of resistance ahead here, it ends up holding the VWAP, spiking to break a new high, breaks over 1575 here, likely for a new entry right here. But when it moves up to 16, I want to go over something really fast, guys. It's a very simple topic that a lot of students still tend to get caught up in. So, this happened around 10 o'clock, 10:15, right? What do we typically expect around 10, or more around 10:30-ish, 10:45? Eastern time, that is. Prior to this Traders Talk workshop, we finished up the live audio commentary, and we did that for a specific reason, right? Why is that? Bonnie says slows down, and all of us saying, slows down, it's reversal time, the volume, most importantly, dies off, right? Not every stock reverses. Not every stock, consolidates. There is some that continues to run, but for the most part, the volume really begins to die off, right? And more often than not, what comes with that is a consolidation. So with that, when this moves up to 16, and here's the thing, for all of us tuning in on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, this might sound really easy for me to say because it's in hindsight, right? This already happened. So, you might just say, well, of course, Josh, I mean, look at what happened. But guys, we talk about this every week in Traders Talk. We look at this pretty much on a day-by-day basis. If it's not one stock, it's the next, right? Going into this time of the day, I'd be a lot more keen to look for the second attempt break over a major level. The second attempt break, meaning more often than not, I would expect around this time of the day, when a stock is testing a major volume-based level for the first time, I'd expect a false break. Now, does that mean a full-on reversal? Not necessarily. It might mean that the stock's going to consolidate, over the next support level and then move back up again. But more often than not, when the stock ends up re-breaking that same volume-based level shortly thereafter, it ends up making a higher high. So here's what happened. This ended up making the pop over 16, popped up, pulled back. Now, at this point here, you could see it still kind of shakes around. If you ended up jumping in here at least right away after or over here, you were still in a good position. If it was over here, you were probably nervous a little bit as it pulled back just to hold pretty much the same price, 1590-ish. But it ended up holding an equivalent low, not a lower low. It didn't break down. Ended up popping 16 later on and ended up making the new leg up, right? So, with that in mind, I'd be a lot more keen to look for those, false breakouts. Look what happened here at 1650 the first time or so. Popped, and then even here when it, kind of broke higher, you're heading into 1030. I really can't keep expecting a stock to trend up and up and up and up and up perfectly. We're going to have some shakes. So this right here is very similar, to 16, but I'd ultimately say right here, if it's not breaking higher, there's only one other way the stock's going to go temporarily. So this ended up actually holding almost like a head and shoulders pattern here a bit, and then dropping off a little bit lower, right? So it's pretty much this time of the day that you would have to expect, pops and drops. And, really, again, I just have to stress this. I'm not going to hold on to a trade like SRNE, the whole way through. If I was in from 1531 and I was feeling pretty nice about it, yeah, of course, I have more, room to play with. But the more this moves up, and really, I'll go back to just the chart here and really the daily chart. Guys, SRNE over the last week and a half went from 10, of course, yesterday, all the way up towards $16. Near flawlessly at that, too. So at what point is this going to make a pullback or reverse? So that's where I just stress, the more that moved up, broke over 16 and flew up, great. But if you're not in this trade yet, you got to be really careful. Because again, this kept going up, obviously, but around 1030-ish, we would expect this to make a sharper pullback or just for it to consolidate a bit further, right? So, I'd be more focused on taking, as I would call the second attempt break over a big level. I mean, you could see even over here when this re-broke over 1650, I mean, there was another order on the S that popped up at 1670. Roughly about 15 or so thousand shares, not really that big in relation to likely what's ahead here at $17. But still, I mean, when it broke over 1650, it held it pretty nicely as a support, not perfectly, but, fairly well, and then ended up thankfully breaking higher. All right. So all in all, guys, really quick, the SRNA, I'm going to zip ahead here. Ended up moving all the way up towards, I think it was like 18 bucks high of the day, was it? 1790 just about. And then I think later on ended up breaking it, right? Yep. Ended up breaking 18. Let's see what happens here really quickly at 18, because same rules apply, right? The more this moves up, the less likely I'm going to just jump in the first attempt where this iceberg order gets filled or tested for that matter. So even over here, you could just see it get shaky, moving up just a few cents a bit, and then a nasty drop off, just about 30 or so cents down. I'm not really like as jumpy to trade a stock like SRNE at this point. Obviously, it kept moving up, but if you already made your money on this trade earlier today, what's the point of placing yourself in a lower probability scenario to retain money? Not to say you're going to lose money right off the bat, but here's the thing. If I have like a 75% chance of making money off a specific price level shortly after the market opens, guys, I'm going to take that 75%. That's high probability. That's 3 out of every 4 chances. Of course, there are certain things in life I'm not going to, really, gamble on a 75% chance. But in terms of stock trading and predictability of momentum and trend, 75% is a pretty good probability. So, with that in mind, I'll be really jumpy. And I'm just saying 75 is just, a number from the hip. But otherwise, that's where I say after a stock like SRNE breaks out after the market opens, going into 10:15, 10:30, I'm going to be more privy, more keen to look for, second attempt breakouts. There could still be a lot left on a trade like this, but the more and more and more it keeps going up, if I already made my money on this trade, I know at some point that this stock's going to die off. Not to say it's going to tank in reverse, but what's the point of trying to trade this stock as it's just more jumpy through certain price levels up and down, right? All right, so that now will take us to this morning. So, going into the market open today, we ended up having the SRNE on our watch list. I didn't think that we did. We ended up putting it on our list. Either way, if it was on the watch list or not, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, as I watched it, there was a 100% chance I was going to watch this stock leading into the market open today, given the move that it made yesterday. All right, so you know what? We're going to rinse and repeat. We're going to do the same exact thing that we just did, at least from the pre-market, going into the open today. And even live right now, look what's happening. This thing's flying back up. Ran from 16 here right before we started Traders Talk, started cutting through all of this volume. 17, the VWAP, 1750, 18. Look what happened when it popped 18 here even. Obviously, I don't know if news came out, but this thing just ran. The first pop over 18 even here. Pop and drop. Second attempt, well, it's flying, right? Is that not what we just covered? So that goes to where I just said before, guys. Some of these moves in hindsight, I know it's easy, for me to just say certain things happen, but guys, it's based on how often it happens. So, let's go over what happens here on this SRNE. What I'll do is actually jump through a couple of things here before we look at what happened after 9:30. So really quickly, much as I look at the opening bell print at 9:30, kind of a prelude to this morning's trading, I look at the closing bell print from 4 o'clock the previous day. I could do that on my time and sales and show you guys like I just did with the opening bell print from yesterday morning on this trade. Just to cut time, I'm just going to show you right here. At $18.82, if you go back on time and sales at 4 o'clock Eastern yesterday, there's a 303,000 share order on the tape, or 303,000 share print for that matter. And that was at $18.82, right? So, 1882 is going to be treated for me as a big level. Looks like this thing ran all the way up towards a post-market high of like 2055, 2060 even. So certain price levels on the chart, I'm still going to watch. Like, the post-market high, I drew a line on my chart this morning, 2055-ish here. Why not? even here, this bigger dot represents a larger transaction. It's not 303,000, but 19,000 shares just about filled at $20.25. All right, so I'll line those up in a moment, guys. But ultimately, we ended up seeing the SR&E trade tank. It ended up dropping off big time shortly going into the market open. So, of course, when this is tanking down to 18 bucks and lower, I'm not really focused on 2025 and 2055 and so forth. All right, so with that, let's at least look at support resistance here, folks. I think my screen's kind of freezing up slightly just with how much this stock's moving right now. So generally, I'll ask the same question like I asked earlier, guys, for all of us tuning in. Look at the larger, or look at the darker orange and red lines going across the screen from left to right. Where do we see consistent support resistance? And where I say consistent, just for reference, guys, there's an order that seemed to have popped up here. This is a very dark shade of red. But the fact that it disappeared and moved at a lower price and then just disappeared again, that means that the order is being moved. So don't focus on that. Focus on the longer standing horizontal lines going across the screen. I had a question from one of our students, Glenn, really quick, guys. I'm going to get to that question, Glenn, coming up. I'm going to remove my level 4 here as I answer that. But Glenn had a question in general just regarding stop limit orders to enter a trade. So I'll explain what I did on this position here. So Pat says basically 50-cent levels and whole numbers, and Jeff and Greg are agreeing. So for the most part, I would say yes, but we could say other price levels too. I mean, for reference, 1950 holding well. 19 looks like it filled an order. Big dot here. Look at this. A 197,000 share order. And I didn't ask this of you guys here, but just showing a big dot, 197K print filled at 1910. So aside from 19, which is obviously a good answer too, 1910 is a really strong level. All right, well, 18, obviously. Looks like this 1850 popped up. It didn't just disappear. It was holding there for a bit, so it broke it and then pulled back. So yeah, it looks like generally the 50-cent levels and whole numbers are holding really strong as support resistance. All right, really quick. Minimize this. I'm going to jump ahead to this morning. Oh, crap. So I'm going to revert this back one more time, I guess. All right, there we go. So I guess this is pretty easy, folks, because it's literally the first print on the tape. But I want all of you guys to tell me, what's the opening bell print this morning on that time in sales? Just want to make sure 1531 I got as the opening print. 1882 was the closing print from yesterday, right? We were saying $18.82. So I'm just lining up my charts here for right now while you guys answer. All right, so what do we have here, guys? 1807, right? I see a few of us saying 19 and 1940. Keep in mind, guys, I'm referring to the time and sales program right here. So this program, actually, I moved on the far left. So, the purpose of time and sales is actually to see the orders that get filled on the tape, meaning that, for the orders that get filled, actually, not the ones that are just looking to be filled from level 3. But with that, you could see at 1807, and this is pretty damn big, an 832,000 share fill, right? All right. So just pardon me here, guys. I'm going to line up this screen. It's at 1808, but whatever. Now I'm working off the office network here. So I'm still at my home office right now. I'm doing this through Log Me In. So I can't show the chart that I already had lined up. I'm trying to replicate that for you guys here. Basically just saying what we had went through before. The 50-cent levels, the whole numbers. I'm not going to do it for every single one. I'll just do it for these here to begin. And 1808, right? 1807. That was the opening bell print going into this morning. So let's see what happens. Zip ahead right now. So when the market opened up, I want you guys to see something very clearly. And this is why I'd said during the morning audio broadcast for all of us that were sticking around from earlier this morning, guys, this is why we say we don't look to catch the falling knife. This SRNE trade ended up just tanking as soon as the market opened up. So with that, you could see it ended up dropping from 1807, all the way down to an eventual low, well, 50-cent level, right? 15.50. All right, so let's just put the line at 17. I want to show you something fast because I ended up trading this shortly after the market opened up. Give me a quick sec here, guys. Just one moment. All right, so I'm trying to multitask a little bit there, guys. Sorry. SRNE after the open, it dumped off. Now I want to show you where I ended up jumping in on this trade. You know, part of this comes from intuition, but at the same time, it's not to say I was kicking my feet up and just enjoying the ride. In fact, I was very fortunate, not to say lucky, because I got out, you know, based on strategy, but it was I got out at a very fortunate time because the thing just tanked right away after. So let me, what are we doing here? There we go. So look what happened after the market opened up here. Obviously it tanked, but look what happened here. And you guys didn't see this part really when I showed my book map just before. You guys were answering generally 50-cent levels and whole numbers, right? Well, look what's there as support going into the market open. 17, right? And after the open, look what happened. It actually got even bigger. You know, the fact it went from orange to red, just generally, that means that the size of the order on the bid got a lot bigger. Give me a quick sec. I'll maneuver around. So there's like 16,000 shares roughly. Oh, whoops. Come on. There's roughly like 28,000 shares on the bid roughly going into the market open. And then when the market did open up, it grew to 87,000 plus shares on the bid. That's what I mean when I say it ended up, you know, increasing in size. So not only that, I want to show you one last thing, because this goes back to just how support can become resistance and, well, vice versa. And this is kind of the cool part about this program, I will say, right? This is the benefit, I will say. So we started off with yesterday's trade, obviously, with good reason. Wasn't 17 a major level yesterday too? I mean, obviously it's a whole number, but it's a pretty dark shade of orange red here, right? Just for size, it means that like there's more volume, it seems like, that got filled here just based on the coloring compared to like 19. If you look hard enough, you can see this is like a darker shade of red. So at least for me, that tells me there was a lot more volume that got filled when it broke 17. So if that's the case, then I'd expect 17 to, you know, be a pretty strong level here this morning. Of course, here in this case today, you know, going into the open, it was dropping down pretty sharply, but I would say 17 would be a potential level to watch. Now, I'll tell you, I got pretty lucky on this trade. Not lucky. I don't like that word. I got pretty fortunate on this trade. So after the open, it sliced through all of this volume at 1750. Actually, one here at 1730, right? Remember, that's where we had the opening print, or rather, I think it was the closing print, rather. Let me see. We had a volume here at least at 1730, and then from there, $17, right? So it took a little bit, but it ended up actually bouncing back over 17. I apologize, not 1731 there. Ended up bouncing over 17, and I ended up jumping in this trade shortly after it did such. I ended up jumping in right when it made the pop over 17 here. Could I have had a better price on the way down? Yeah, I'm sure. 1668 was the low. But I'm not trying to catch the falling knife here, guys. If anything, look what happened instantly after. It rebroke under 17, and tanked like an absolute rock. So on this trade, I ended up recognizing 1730 as a resistance. When this ended up kind of dropping under 17 and then moving back over 17 right here, I jumped in. This was my first entry on the day. Notice the time here too. It's after 9:32. It's still within the first 5 or so minutes. Well, it ended up moving right up to this line, 1730-ish. This was an order on the bid. So this ended up acting as a bit of a resistance. Held it pretty well. And then instantly after breaking this order on the bid here at 17, look out. This thing dropped like a rock. So I will say the exit on my trade here this morning, at least, was based on a bigger order that was on the bid. But, with that in mind, it goes back again. If it's not breaking higher, there's only one other way this stock is going to go. So we kept following this trade, at least SR&E. It kept dropping all the way down, broke below 1650, broke all the way down at 16. And 16, much like 17, we knew was a really big level as well. So the same rules apply. I mean, look what happened. It broke under 16. Thankfully here, and I didn't take this trade. I should have, right? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. What was I doing at 936? I wasn't even in a trade at 936. My next trade after the SR&E was like TTOO. Myself and Fausto were doing the audio broadcast on social media, so that kind of took precedence. But, it ended up breaking under and over 16. This was a really nice entry, it seems like, right? Thankfully, it didn't even have any shake under 16 after. It just held it perfectly and moved right back up. It's the same exact entry. Just in this case, it ended up making the full-fledged reversal right from that price, right? All right. So with that, I want to answer a question that one of our students, Glenn, was asking earlier, and it will be in relation to, It will be in relation to my entry here, Glenn, at 17. I would base it off 16 because that obviously was the better entry here, all in all. But I'll tell you what I did from 17 at least. So going into this trade, what I'm using is either a limit order or a stop limit order. All right. Now, I want to be as close to my entry level as possible, meaning that, I'm not going to just use a market order and just try and jump in and base it off the naked eye and say, oh, it popped above 17. Let me buy right now. If I'm too slow and if I'm just not quick enough, I mean, what if I get filled to buy at 1725 here? It's a pretty bad entry, right? So generally, I just bring that up across the board to everybody because, that's how you can get screwed on a trade. You want to use a limit order primarily, especially for a stock like SR&E. And if you're not using a limit order, then depending on the setup and what type of trader you are, perhaps a stop limit order is the better idea. So, I ended up using a stop limit order on this trade this morning. And here's what I did, Glenn. So, one sec. I'm like hopping around here all over. Actually, I got to do a little shaking around here. This will look better. All right. So, this ended up breaking under 17, right? So I'm hawking this trade right away. Like when I say hawking, like I am diligently watching. Is this just going to keep tanking or is this just going to keep pushing up? So with that, you could see this ended up making a very sharp bounce, essentially from 17, from 1668 here. So with that, you could see, once it ended up moving up towards 17, I ended up setting up an order. When this ended up kind of popping through and under, I was looking at the entry right over here, 932.15, 932.30-ish, pretty much right here. So right away, right? If I know 17's a level, I'm going to look to enter not at 17, but over 17. Why does that matter? Well, what happens if you lean into the level and it holds? Right away, you're basically entering at the high right on that sequence, and the stock's going to tank right away after. It's like literally saying right here, you're going to buy. If this hits 17 and used the stop limit right here, assuming it was just going to run back up, that's what would happen, right? So what I'm using is a stop limit order to enter. And again, this is all under the pretense of saying this is holding very nicely under 17, right? So with that, what I'm going to use is the stop limit, but there's two parts of a stop limit order when you're entering a trade. A stop order or a stop price and a limit price. In terms of entering a trade using a stop limit order, what you need to do is this. You got to make sure that your stop price is just like a penny, if that, above the level. So 1701. Now, what I'll do here personally is I'll make my limit price like a penny or two above my stop. Because on such a volatile play, I don't want this to pop over 17 and then just start flying, right? Because if I'm watching this trade and I set up my order over 17 but don't make any separation between these two, prices here, this very well might blow right through 1701 and just fly right up without me. So I like to make sure I'm very close to my level when I enter, Glenn. So that's why I make my stop price 1701. If this hits 17 and holds, it's not going to, enter me on the trade. If it hits 1701, it will attempt to fill me. But if it ends up like moving up to 1702 or 1703, if it doesn't fill me directly right then and there at 01, it will fill me within this tiny range. All right. So, it gives me a cap as far as where I would look to enter the trade at in relation to the level. Now, what if it blows over 1701, 1702, and 1703 and flies? Well, of course, I'm still in the same situation as I would be if I made 1701 the same price, limit, and stop. So that's why when a stock breaks through a huge level and you end up setting up the stop limit order to enter, the hope is to get in right away off the pop. If it ends up pulling back right away after and filling you, great. But, you want to make sure that 17 level holds pretty nicely. If not perfectly, then a higher low, or at least if anything, within line with your risk. So, that's how I would use a stop limit order to enter a trade, Glenn. Really fast, actually, I'll jump to one setup live because it's actually happening, and it's I don't really need to go further here, but SRNA moving right back up towards 18, right? So we know that 18 is a big level. Actually, 1808 is a pretty big level, that being the opening bell print this morning, 1807. All right. So, here hypothetically, right? I'm just, giving an example right from the hip, right? I'm not going to take this per se. But what if this ends up moving up to 18, or even for that matter, what if this ends up breaking above this top here? This seems pretty strong. 1786. Let's just say in theory, 1786. I mean, it seems pretty strong, but let's just say it's a really strong level right now. All right. Well, what I would look to do is try and enter just a penny or two over that level. So that means I'm going to set up my stop limit order such that if it hits 1787, a penny above that price, I'll hope to get in. But I'll try and make my limit price like a couple cents higher, maybe a few cents higher, if that, right? Jose says he prefers to set the stop 2 cents away. Jose, I know what Jose means. Okay, good. That's a really good point, Jose. So I'm going to repeat what he said. Jose says, I prefer to set the stop price, not 1 penny, but 2 pennies over the level, since sometimes he's gotten filled just a penny above the level and it tanks. He says it's a glitch. It's not necessarily a glitch, Jose. It's really not, to be honest with you. It's the fact that they're filling your order in between the bid and the ask. So like your order would get filled at 17.0009, or something like that, right? That counts as 1701. So, with that, I think your limit order gets filled with your stop limit order gets filled with that in mind. So more or less, Jose is saying he's just making it 2 cents over the level rather than 1. Can't go wrong with that. That's still really close over, a major volume based level. So if that helps you out, then go with that, Jose. Nice. All right. Norman says, is it too tight with 2 cents? Oh, no, not at all. So meaning here, guys, like in theory, what Jose was referring to is if 1786 is resistance and he's going to enter over that level, He's not going to make the stop price 87. He's going to make the stop price 88. That's 2 cents over resistance. Then he'd make the limit price like 2 cents over that. A penny or two over that, right? Norman says to keep the loss small, is that to make? Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. I mean, every trade begins with your entry. That's what I always say. When students come to me and they say that they blew up their account or they took a really crappy trade, and they may say, I held on too long. Right away, like, I care about that. Don't get me wrong. But maybe it's just out of habit working with Fausto for almost 6 years now. But literally anytime someone comes to me and say they took a big loss, it's just, what's the entry? Where do you get in? Because if you ended up chasing the stock very far away from a major volume-based level, well, that's where it begins. You did it to yourself there. If you ended up chasing a stock very far away from where you should have gotten in, not only do you limit the opportunity that you would have at potentially making money, but think of it vice versa. You end up increasing your exposure at taking a very big loss. All right. Give me a split moment, folks. I want to jump back really quick, just reset while I can. Nancy's asking, can you set a stop loss on a stop limit order? So right away, I'll answer. If you happen to use a bracketed type order, yes, an OSO or OCO order will give you the ability to set up a limit order to sell at a higher price and a stop limit order underneath you, or a stop market order for that matter, underneath you to back yourself up, just in case if it makes a pop and drop. Otherwise, though, what I tend to do, Nancy, because I'll just be the first to tell you here, as always, I don't use bracketed orders myself. I find them to be very useful. Like for students that are, taking big losses, it's going to tighten that up pretty fast. And at least it gives you an ability to potentially lock up a profit. Don't try and be a perfectionist with the OCO order, but, it does provide both, right? So I find it beneficial. Myself, I don't use it. I love using stop limit orders on entries, but as soon as I get filled, Nancy, and this is just me, because, perhaps it comes with experience and quick with being on the platform and computer, and to go further, maybe hotkeys could even help on top. I'm not going into that, but as soon as I get filled on a trade, I instantly set up my stop limit order underneath me. I care more about getting out of the trade before it ends up tanking compared to hitting the home run in the perfect trade. So as soon as I get filled on a trade, I end up setting up a stop order underneath me, just in case if it craps out the other way. Obviously, I'll know very quickly once I get in the trade if this is going to make the type of push I would look for or not. So if I know that I'm in a good position to where I'm not going to lose, of course, I'll think about, taking the money or focusing on where the stock will move up towards next. Mark says, but if you enter a trade with a fast-moving stock, it might tank ASAP. Well, that's what happened this morning, right? This ended up tanking right from the 17. It held 1730 very quickly after and then just dropped like a rock. I mean, this thing just has crazy range today, really. This thing held 16 perfectly and then inched back up. Notice when it broke through 1650 on the way up here, it wasn't a direct, it was a steady trend, mind you, but I'm sure it wasn't the perfect breakout right away. $40.50. Yeah, big volume spike right here. And then it ends up piercing through 1650 a couple moments down the line. But notice even there, when it breaks through that level on the way up, again, keep in mind, this is 11 o'clock, so I wouldn't expect for this to be as sharp even at this time. But generally, when this breaks through a big volume-based level around this time of the day, notice what happened. Popped and dropped. And then on the second move up, it ended up running, right? Not the first attempt, but the second. And this is on a 15-second chart, of course, I'm just showing kind of the inner workings of the 1 minute bars. All right. Now, I do have a question from YouTube. One of our members joining us here for the first time. What about trailing stops? So that's a really good question. And, very similar to the bracketed orders, I find them beneficial because, I mean, A, you're in control to a great degree of the trailing stop. I say to a great degree and not fully because if the stock ends up making an erratic move and takes you out before you have a chance to move it or, whatever, it might end up taking you out way too soon. Right. So it's always a love-hate relationship with trailing stops. Me personally, I've never used them. And that part, I'll tell you, that just I never really looked into it or really like took the time to consistently use trailing stops for that matter. I was trained by Fausto back in October of 2014. That was the first month I was here with CTU. So even at that time, I was, learning from Fausto. He happens to use two different level twos at times. You only see one here, of course. So there are differences, over the years that I'll take, things that I'll like, things that I don't like. Trailing stops I find very useful. I've never consistently took the time to use them like I have done with OCO orders. I've taken like a solid 2 months to go through OCOs, OSOs, and I thought at one point I was going to really incorporate that with my trading. Well, I ended up moving away from them. Right, trailing stops I have less experience with in general myself, but that just comes from comfortability at this point. I don't feel the need to use them myself. All right. Question here from one of our members. Is the stop limit on the bid or on the ask? So it's on neither. It's just dependent upon how you're using a stop limit order. So again, for that matter, if we know 16, let's just say hypothetically, we'll just give an easy example from the chart because just like easy here. So let's say 1630. 1630 should be resistance. Really quick, guys. It looks like one of us said that they lost audio. For all of us here inside the trading room, are we good still? See, my mic's going. I think I should be fine. Good, good, good. All right, cool. Really quick then. I will just say to that one student. Just log out and log back in. Sometimes it can be me. That's why I always like to ask. So, just for reference, let's say 1630 is resistance. And if we're using a stop limit to enter a trade, well, what we're going to just simply do is set it up just such that if it breaks resistance, we'll try and get in. So it's not to say it's on the bid or the ask. I guess technically, if we're taking a breakout, technically we're feeding off the ask. But it's not as if the order is shown on level 3. Stop limit orders, stops in general, are not initially shown on the order books. So, if you were to place the stop limit out there before it breaks through the level, no one's going to see it at the time, just so you guys know. But once it breaks through resistance, then at that point, there's a better chance that your order is going to get triggered. All right, really quick, I wanted to get to this one mini question before we finish up, guys. It wasn't as much in relation to SR&E, but one of our students, Michael, just simply asked, in relation to seeing on the TradeStation scanners, we've been talking about the float as we should, right? But he just simply asked, how do you find the float for a stock using the TradeStation scanners? You could see here, I added a couple of things to my scanners here. I don't know how to send them out to students now at this point, which is kind of weird. I have to figure that out. But you can see even I have shares outstanding and then the float right next to it. So Michael D was asking me inside the trading room earlier, what do you how do you end up finding that? So, or how do you set it up? All right, so for all of us here on TradeStation 9.5, follow along on TradeStation 10. It's very similar, very, very similar. I think there's just one slight difference. So what you do is just right-click the scanner. For all of us on TradeStation 9.5, you go to Format Scan. For all of us on TradeStation 10, I think it's Data, and then it's Customize or Edit Scan. I think that's the only difference. If I'm wrong with that, I'm sorry. Notice here, I mean, the float's already showing, but double click where it says select criteria. And then the float is actually down here, Michael. Capitalization right here. The float. Otherwise, for anybody unfamiliar, the number of freely traded shares in the hands of the public, it's basically shares outstanding minus the insiders and institutions. All right, so the float you just display. I mean, you could filter it if you'd like. If you really are adamant on staying away from the low float pump and dumps, which, for the most part I stay away from, but I don't have a threshold number to give you. I just display it. So what we'll do is really just run a quick scan. Why not? This is just the gainer scanner here, guys. So as of right now, PFNX is up big. I think this might even be a buyout. I don't know. SYPR. Ooh, this is making a nice pop right now. Slow. And you could just see for the most part, really quick, the float, 10.78 million shares. I will say that's pretty light. I mean, you go around from trader to trader, people on YouTube and, instructors and actual people that know how to trade, they'll give you a different number, right? So I'm not going to sit here and give you a threshold number as far as what I define as low float and what I define as, big. No, but the lower the float, the more pump and dump-esque it is. It's that simple, guys. So with that in mind, hey, what's OXBR up to? We were watching this stock from the pre-market, right? Oh, I guess now I'll go back to 1 minute. Yeah. We were watching this stock from pre-market trading, right? This stock was up huge in the after hours. What the hell happened? Well, we ended up seeing this stock just get crushed from 8 o'clock all the way down. I mean, it took a long time for this to even move back up again. But notice the short-lived move. Look at the volume dying off here. I'm surprised this even ran as well as it did. I know that Fausto and you guys killed this in the phase 3 stock course earlier today. But I will say with this, topping off where it did and coming back down sharply, it's not going to surprise me for this to close much lower even from where it had opened up. This is the type of pump and dump type of stock that you would see, close lower than it opens up. Grill, GRIL, 3.84 million shares. It's moving up a little bit right now. Very, very, very low volume stock in general. I guess it's holding strong here right now, but this, again, I'd say the same thing, especially with this moving up already yesterday, I guess. A low volume run up from 210 up to 285, 275 high of the day here. It's going to tank probably by this afternoon or tomorrow. All right, folks, let me see. I'll tell you, we went through the SRNE pretty nicely. I know that a bunch of us wanted me to go over that trade in particular. I didn't have anything else. So with that, we're going to conclude Traders Talk. And with that, we're going to actually conclude the YouTube stream, guys. It looks like basically all of us are back inside the Cyber Group trading room now at this point. So again, I'd mentioned this, I think last week even. We normally don't do this Traders Talk workshop on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube. We normally do that right inside our live trading room. I'm going to knock on wood. I'm going to cross my fingers and toes that this tech issue won't happen again, especially going into next week. If it does, then we're going to use YouTube and Facebook Live as a good alternative. But aside from that, if you'd like to learn more about Cyber Trading University, CTU, for all of us streaming across social media, really quickly, actually, let me make sure that you guys have a chance to call the phone number down below. And then from there, one of our education advisors will pick up, just provide more detail. Oh, someone ruined my banner here, actually. Give me a quick sec. Oh, I had a nice banner here with the phone number ready to go. All right, well, how about this, guys? Rather that, if you guys would like to learn more, if you guys are new to Cyber Trading University, especially the YouTube channel, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and notify yourself, most importantly, as far as when we're going to be going live, when we're not. We typically do audio broadcasts every day, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So with that, we're going to kill the stream here right now, and we're going to re-begin a new stream coming up at 2:30 p.m. later today, guys. All right? For all of us inside the Cyber Group room, great to have all of you guys back now, finally. We're going to rescan the market going into this early afternoon. Probably not as much to trade. We'll keep our eyes on the SRNE. But again, aside from that, we'll be back on live at 2:30 today, guys. Take care.